I hope everybody's doing well, whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Soft and System Side to Sales, where myself and Jason talk about all the different things that you can do to improve your sales performance. And in this particular um, time of year, we're talking about the end of year, and not just the end of year, not just finishing strong, Jason, starting strong for next year. So we'll be back in 2 seconds. So, Jason, hello. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good. Very good. I'm looking forward to this conversation. We haven't done one of these for a while, and it's good to, especially this time of year, it's imperative to finish this year so strong and just to run straight through it. Like when we've been doing our LinkedIn audio sessions, we've been discussing all of these different elements to the run up to now. But now it's really just to put it all together because it's just such an important time of year. And I know we have Patrick to there. He's part and parcel of it. And Patrick, welcome. If you're trying to get your camera working, obviously another piece of technology to worry about or to think about. But let's start it off, and we'll wait for Patrick to come along. And we have another guest. We have John Byrne that is in the background as well.
Brilliant. And yeah, Jason, like we've started this conversation probably about 4 to 6 weeks ago about what are the things we need to do to finish strong. We also talked about the myths of end of year, right? The myths about what people think you should be just focusing on at the end of the year. And we dispelled some of those myths because, Jason, I think one of the big things we talked about is people just want to close out their existing accounts, right? And that's it. And just focus on that. And then maybe have a bit of fun with clients, but they're missing a trick, aren't they? They're missing on because this is the time where people have time to talk to you. People have possibly budgets to still finish, right? To still get rid of, or they won't get them next year. So they want to close their budgets off and start with stuff for next year. What do you think, Jason?
Well, I think that there's people out there and there's clients out there that if they don't spend the budget, they lose it. So it could be the time of the year. It's probably not the most honest way of doing things, I think, because you want to make sure that you give 100% value to the companies that you work with and for. And you have to make sure that whatever you do gets repeated in the new year and gets repeated out throughout 2024. But it's definitely worthwhile reaching out to your existing client base, but also going after new biz, because have a look at the people that you did try and speak to throughout the year. How well did you get on with them? You know, the ones that always said, oh no, call me back in 6 months, call me back in 3 months. You know, the ones that just keep pushing out. Maybe it just wasn't the right time. Maybe they are being honest, because worth checking in with those people that it didn't close then. No means not right now. It could mean something in the future. So it's worth looking back through all of those deals that didn't close and just reconnect with them, even if it's just connection with them, just checking in with them, see how they are for the end of the year, or see how they're going for 2024, and have that light conversation, that relationship building conversation, that you're connecting with them and they're keeping on the radar. If you're not on their radar, you're back out of everything else. So you need to be front of mind all the time.
You always got to be front of mind, Jason. That's very, very important. And here's the thing. Maybe you're repackaging your services next year. It's a great opportunity to open conversation to see what people want from you next year. What would they like to see? It's a big part of closing the year strong is making sure, number one, your customers are happy. Very, very important, obviously. But what else do they want to see? What else can you learn from your customers? And then you can bring towards new prospects, bring it into the new year. So it's very important to develop your idea of what you want to build with your clients next year. And that doesn't just involve your existing customers, it involves the new potential prospects, because you want to start strong. It's very, very important to start strong, Jason. You want to have meetings set up for January. Maybe they don't have time to meet you this year, but they have time to set up schedules and have converse with you to set up meetings earlier so you can solve their pains from the get-go. How can you help
Yeah,
them?
absolutely. I think we have John in the background, and we also have Patrick as well. Are you both there? I know you're having video challenges there. And again, this is the
Yes.
time to fix challenges and problems that we might already have. And technology is one of those things, but there's also something that we can work with our clients. So, John, you're there, and Patrick, are you both there?
Hey, Jason. Hey, Shay. How are you?
Hey, John, good to see you, or good to hear you, not see you so far.
Yeah, I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm on my phone, so I'm on 5G. So I'm just not going to turn on the camera, and I'm not in the office, so I won't be putting the camera on for the moment for this particular one. And Restream is new to me anyway, so
Yeah.
and I don't look that good.
We all
I
say
don't
that about
look as
ourselves,
good as.
John. We always say that about ourselves.
It's all about connection. It's all about connecting with people. So we are on a LinkedIn Live here, and we are broadcasting across multiple channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube as well. But we are talking about the end of year strategies. I know, John, we spoke deeply about this before, but
Yeah.
we just want to bring it all together because tomorrow, and unbelievably, it's December the 1st, and I can't believe it. This year has shot past so quickly, the quickest year I've ever been through. Lots of things have happened, but what's your take on it? We've been talking about reconnecting with our clients, even reconnecting with customers that we didn't sell to, and they said no, call back in 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. No, it's not right for right now, but could be right now. Could be the perfect time.
Yeah, look, I think it comes down to a number of things. There's always that conversation that we have that say this is not the right time. Call me back in 3 months.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I always like to ask is well, what's going to change in the next 3 months? So at least it might give you, if they do answer that question, they might give you the idea that, okay, well, these are the kind of things that we're working on. I know I say this a lot, but it's the major part of this. It is all about conversation. It's all about having the conversation and having a continuous conversation with your clients, your existing clients, with your prospects, the ones that you have spoken to, and it's just not the right time. And for the ones that you haven't spoken to, you want to begin and continuously be building on attempting to have the conversation and continue the conversation with, and especially with existing clients, because you need to know one, where they are. If they're an existing client, no matter what you do for them, whether you supply services, whether you supply a product, it doesn't matter what you do with them. If you're in conversation with them and you're asking questions and going, how did things go over the past 12 months? And even setting them up and saying, look, I'd love to have a conversation with you about how things have gone for the past 12 months. Just as you coming up to the end of the year, being curious about their business, not specifically to pitch them, because everybody is, you're gonna go, okay, I don't want to pitch you. I genuinely want to have a conversation. I'm curious about how the past 12 months have gone, and then also, well, what are the plans for the next 12 months?
Absolutely.
And then, and only then, can you be going, well, is there any ways that we might be able to help you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you're selling.
And you're absolutely right, John. And I always believe that this, like your entry point there to the conversation is, how did we perform with you last year? Right. Number one, what did we do well? Well, what are the areas we can improve upon? What other challenges do you think we can support your business on? And that leads you into the conversation about moving forward, because it's all about what you can do moving forward. But before you, and I agree with you, John, before you can actually start talking about moving forward, you have to get what's the reflection done off the table. Because you don't be going in talking about, well, let's build something for next year when they have problems with you. You need to be able to open up with that, because that happens. You want to make sure you address
Yes, it
those
does.
and how you can solve them. How can you give them a view of how good things will be going forward? But the other thing, as I said earlier on, maybe you want to repackage your services. Maybe you want to innovate. Maybe you want to get their opinions of what else they would like to see. And again, that means it's very targeted on their needs. And therefore, when you have those conversations, the next natural conversation is about, well, how can we supply that next year? How can we build our partnership? I don't like the term supplier, customer, supplier relationship. I'm a believer in partnerships. I always believe you should work together to make it better. Your customers, collaboration. Your customers may have customers. So it's all about how do you work together to protect the end user. And then the sum of the parts synergy, build those synergistic partnerships and be their partner in pain relief.
Excellent. I think we have Patrick there. He looks like he's there, and he may be struggling with technology. So, Patrick, are you there? No, by the sound of it. Look, I might back channel him in a few moments, but you're absolutely right. This time of year, it should be light-hearted conversations. Excuse me. And it should be, what can we do for you next year? How can we get you across the line? What is there for us to do that we can work together, either this year or in 2024? What are your plans? What are your strategies? What can we do to help and align what we do? And maybe let's work together on something, because you never know what the opportunities might be like. Let's have a quick catch-up coffee. Let's have a quick Zoom catch-up. Then no one can actually drive. It is better to see people, but it does depend when your customers might be. So quick 15-minute Zoom coffee. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Another example is to reach out to people that you haven't spoken to in a long time. Meaning, and I'll give an example. When I lived in London, I reached out to a friend of mine and another friend that I worked with many years ago. I'm talking about 20 years ago now. And I reached out to him and said, oh, let's catch up. Because you just don't know where the opportunities might lie. And you just don't know. So again, I'm always about that relationship. And it is this time to reconnect with old customers, that you had 10 years ago, or whatever the case might be, because you just don't know. You don't know where the opportunity lies, and the opportunity to create or reconnect with that old friend or old client that you might have had. It is the time of year to do that sort of stuff.
Oh, it is. And like, that's why I believe you always have to have multiple streams going at any one time. How do you keep in contact with your existing customers? How are you developing new prospects? But what are those buy later? What's the stream for keeping in touch with your buy later prospects? It's super important. So we've talked a little bit on the external side of things, talking to your customers, talking to prospects, building plans for next year, partnerships for next year. But what about the internal side of things? What about building the strategy? What's your thoughts, John, about how do you start building the strategy for next year?
It is an interesting question, Shay, and I'll tell you why it's interesting. The conversations that you're having with your maybe existing customers or your prospects, they're very similar conversations you should be having internally, because it's the outward facing people of your organization that are being able to come back to you and say, well, this is what I'm hearing from our customers, from our prospects. And therefore, that will allow you to say, okay, well, and it's a two-pronged effect, I think. One is that if you have the internal conversations, similar internal conversations about what we're doing right, what we could improve, but then what can we be offering our customers that we think they're looking for? Okay, so that's one piece. The second piece is you can go to your customers and you can say, I'd be interested in your feedback on an idea that we have going to our marketplace next year, as in collaborate with us, have a conversation with us about what we're thinking of doing, and would it be of benefit? Not to sell it, again, not to sell it, to have the conversation and collaborate with them and say, for them to say, give you feedback and say, do you know what? We don't see a need for it, or they might pick holes in it. They might find things that, as part of your strategy, they might find things that you haven't looked at internally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would go one step further, John. I think you're spot on what you're talking about. I believe we need to do a deep dive in like what worked well this year. What do we want to bring forward with us next year, right? What didn't work well? What do we need to change? What do we need to do differently? And a few ways to look at this. You could say, like, well, what about the skill sets within the team? Was there anything lacking? Do we need to improve? Do we need to send some of our guys on the training? Are they in the right part of the sales process? Maybe some teams use people at different stages of the process or funnel, and you want to educate them a bit better in cross training them and to be able to move into different areas. But what about looking at data? What are the top 3 reasons for the year why your customers didn't choose you? Right?
That's a really good question to ask, actually. And while you're saying that, it's feedback as well.
Feedback. Yeah.
It is feedback to what went right and what didn't go so well, and how can you look at to improving it. But if you're an independent person, like an independent consultant like ourselves, I think you need to bounce off ideas with someone else to find out the root of it, or you brainstorm it, or you whiteboard it, or you mind map it, or you do something. Or if you're in a team, you do that mind mapping and you just strategize. What did we do wrong? What did we do so well? Let's find out from our best customers what we did well and what the reasons, how and why did they buy from us? Because that's a really good feedback. And maybe speak to the people that didn't buy. Why didn't you buy from us? What made you not buy from us this year? There must be a reason behind that. Welcome, Yoram.
Welcome. How's everybody?
Very good.
Yoram. So join the conversation. You've been listening here with us, Yoram, and you had a lovely good comment I saw there about, I totally agree. It's not just vendors, it's partnerships.
And we have Patrick as well with his...
Welcome, Patrick. Third time lucky.
I'll speak to Patrick first. He's been patient.
Can we hear you, Patrick? Well, Patrick, I'll say is if you go into the gear wheel underneath settings and go to the audio, maybe you just have to change your microphone and see. But while he's doing that, Yoram, please step in.
Yeah, no, I think there's been some great points made already. I think there is a bit of, I mentioned this last week, there's a bit of this exuberance. We've got, like, say, 2-3 weeks left of selling this year, if we're being honest. We might get lucky in between Christmas and New Year. I've heard of very interesting stories of how deals have been closed, but on the 27th of December, for example. But that's sometimes been the craziest weeks of my life. But I think there's also points we've got to sort of put things into perspective. I think there's almost this thing that's it. We're going to grab every piece of money. We're going to blow the year out. And I think sometimes you've always got to, you haven't got that much time. You've got to plan it out well. Now, I agree. Speak to those where there's a chance they might have budget to spend by the end of the year. You haven't got hold of them. Maybe those who are just so difficult to pin down, now's the time. A simple thing I've been thinking about is maybe actually say, hey, listen, it's almost towards the end of the year. I know this year's been crazy. Next year will be nuts again. But I wanted to maybe set something up beginning of January before things go crazy. Unless you can speak now during December. Sometimes I may prefer to speak in December. Now, one of two things is going to happen. One, they're going to say, okay, let's speak in January. And then you start planning out your January calendar. Because how often have we tried to start booking meetings, closing deals at the beginning of January is hard. Everybody's got New Year launch. They've got a this, they've got a that. The other thing that could happen is like, actually, let's speak now. We may, if we're doing something, we're doing it this year. Can you move? We're like, okay, let's go for it. But like you said, going back to your point about partnerships, they want to feel we're on their side. So the fact that somebody's making effort to reach out to them and engage with them and really, feel like they want to get the best for them, that's the sort of people want to work for and trust. It's very hard to do that, and that requires effort. But picking up the phone, just touching base, wishing them, like, if you celebrate Happy Christmas, Diwali, Hanukkah, whatever's you're doing right now, is very, very critical. And here's the thing: yes, a lot of people are doing the same, but more people are not.
Yeah, I think it's too right, and I think a lot of people just shy away from that. Some people go around and see their customers and give them a hamper and all that sort of stuff. That might be another way of engaging back into conversation, or whatever. But what about those people that you do miss? The people that are not quite your customers now. What do you do specifically for that? There could be interest in going back to old school outreach. Send them a letter, send them a card, a Christmas card with a letter or something like personal in there, connection to them. Then maybe follow up, like do something old school, something that's different. Again, be different, but don't be the same as everyone else. Be unique, be your own person. There's always to stand difference to everyone else. Everyone else is doing the same stuff. How can you shine in these next few weeks and using it to your benefit? Patrick, do we have you here? And John?
Yes, I'm back. I knocked.
Patrick,
I
we still don't have sound, Patrick. We still. If you go to the settings wheel underneath the screens, and then there's an audio section, and you should be able to change the input for the audio. It's not working for you. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you look good. You look great. I love your Callaway golf cap. So you look very sporty, Patrick. And we'll do our best to lip read, right? If you have something to say.
Patrick's got lots to say. He just can't get his microphone working.
Yeah.
But Jason, just to take you up on your point, sometimes it is about being different, and it's down to, the effort that you've put in, first of all, to get through to people in the first place, whether you're doing business with them or not. If you're doing business with them, they're most likely going to take your call, so you don't have to be different. But if you're not doing business with them and you're trying to set something up for the new year, it might be the time to be that little bit different and put something in snail mail and put a card or a package in the post to them, a book that they're interested in, or something from a conversation that you had in the past, or that you recognized what they did on LinkedIn and that they have an interest in something else. Like Patrick there, I can't see whether it is a Callaway, but if it is a Callaway, Patrick obviously has an interest in golf. So you might send Patrick some new Callaway tees for the next golf outing he has. Yeah, be different. Why not?
Yeah, Patrick can send us a copy of his books, or you can send that out to everyone. That's a good prompter for his book. I know he's been pushing that out a lot on social media recently, and that's a great thing to do. But also, that's a good CV and a good way to get in front of people and into the door. If you don't have a book, there's other things that you can do outside of that. So be creative. Make sure it stands out. And what I mean by standing out, if you're going to send something through by post, don't make sure it's like one of those grey bill letters, the normal. Have something colourful. I've found that works a treat every time, just to reconnect. If you're going to do something different or be different, do something that no one else is thinking about.
And here's the thing, Jason. Everybody thinks the world has moved on. Like, they talk about inbound marketing. They talk about all these things. Guess what? The old stuff still works. And guess what? Because not many people are doing it, it is different. So the old school, picking up the phone, sending a letter. When I started my first business, I sent 50 letters just to ask for help about advice in the industry, right? Literally, I asked for, I'd meet them for lunch. I'd pay for lunch. I'd love to listen to any insights they could share with me. I sent 50 letters to 50 business leaders. I got about 10 responses. I can't remember, but I got 10 responses, 5 meetings, 3 sales. Right? I didn't ask for sales. I asked for help, right? And the fact that I asked for help Some people will ignore you. That's okay. People are busy. But some people love to help, Jason. They really do. And I believe asking for help is a superpower. And that's one way to be different.
Absolutely. And that's something I did today, actually. Ask for help because I just curious about something and I just didn't know the answer. But it's also another way to reconnect with people because you just don't know when the opportunities might arise. So other things that we can be speaking about end of year, like I don't want to discount for the sake of discounts. I don't think that gives you credibility unless you bolt on something else on top of things. You're eagerly waiting to speak. So go on ahead.
So I think discounts depends. If somebody's very close to buying, they're murmuring, a discount may work or discount may start a conversation. I think the way I've usually found discounts have been the most effective is when you're basically almost like, it's okay, I don't mind if you take it or not. I mean, this is an option. We've finished the year. We've done very well. We've hit all our targets. So we've got some maneuverability. I've got X number of people I can offer this to. I'm giving you first choice. If it's good, great. If not, no, just want to know one way or the other. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. If it's 10%, say, listen, it's not like a huge amount of money, but it's something. And if they say no, it will give you, well, first you may find out how serious they are or not, but it may also help you suss out that they may not be as close to buying as you think.
Yeah.
Even though they're giving off all the right signals and they're basically trying to push you off. And this could be a great way to sort of like pull back from the discount and say, okay, then something's a bit, I haven't done my job properly. Perhaps I'm missing something because everybody else I'm offering this to has basically bitten my hand off already. It tells me that I haven't done my job properly and you're not ready. And then get them speaking.
Yeah,
and
really
find out, and it may be you've just not done your job properly. There could be other factors. They're just simply not sold despite you doing your job properly. And they're just anxious about the reaction they may have with their company. They need reassurance. It could be a million things in sales.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And some people just don't buy either.
Vendor. Sorry?
Some people just don't want to buy. Ironically enough, I'm listening to Brian Tracy again, Psychology of Selling. Exactly what he said. It's very old school stuff, but it's just so true. And the personality types, oh, would you buy it? Just throw it out there because some people just won't buy. They're just wasting your time. So just move. We have to just
you can get rid of the time wasters. You can also get rid of those who, for example, yes, they're the decision makers. Yes, they're the person who's going to instigate it, but they need other people on board. Right, and I've literally come along and I've hit this one thing where I've got some strange requests. Usually a good example is where it's basically come down to the fact that everybody's convinced they want it. The owners believe everybody has said it, but the question has been is they buy something, everybody use it for 3 months, and then they just don't bother.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, but there are ways around that. And I think that's important. That goes back to what you're saying about partnership and conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, you can shoot the breeze about the weather, but get understanding about their business as well, like how things are going, what's the strategy, where's the general picture next year? You know, not just where we're fitting in. Because here's the thing, if you can't sell to them now and you can help them with something else, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else who can't sell to them right now.
Yeah, and I agree. And what I like to say, Joran, on top of that, like my one concern about discounts is people then have expectations moving forward. They believe that's the price going forward. I always like to make sure I put caveats around it. And I tend to use the word promotion for a period to manage expectations when it comes to clients, because my only concern about, I think discounts are powerful, by the way. I believe it's a great sales strategy. And if you're in a good partnership, maybe you can take a bit of the hit. Maybe your vendor, your supplier partner can take a little bit of hit. So everybody takes a little bit of hit for the good of the customer, right? So there's definitely merit in going that approach, but I like to use the word promotion as opposed to discount, just to ring for it, because people know promotions don't last long. People sometimes people use discounts. Well, this is my price, you know.
And be ready to stick to your deadline. I have a manager, David Pender, said, I used to once believe that thing, I don't want to go into this too much detail, but if you give 10% discounts on every deal, every 10 deals, you've lost a deal. Yeah. However, if in the space of doing those 10 deals, you've done 13, you're up by 2, if you know what I'm saying. So the point is, I think, have a deadline, stick to it, The worst comes to worst, you give it to them if they agree to buy straight away or meet them halfway. But the point is, if you're giving a discount, there's got to be something back. So there's a time limit where somebody comes and asks for discount. Why? Because this is what it's going to take us to close it through and go through the details. I've had this with somebody at the end of the year where I've offered a certain price and I said, what needs to happen? So-and-so needs to approve it. Great. When's he coming back? Monday week, a week after the deadline. Okay. So can you extend a week? I said, I can, but I said, be blunt with me. When are you actually going to get in front of him and speak to him? Was it her? I think it was a him about it. Oh, let's extend it by a week and a day and a half. And I said, and then all 2 days, which is going to be, I think there was a time difference. So it's the evening my time, half day your time. We needed an extra half a day. It's fine. But I was able to extend it. And then I was being professional. And, you know, say to him, listen, I've been given this power by others. And the guy I was dealing with, by the way, was an a-hole. But he came through. Not only that, he paid us before Christmas, about a week before Christmas. He couldn't wait to pay. I've never seen somebody want to pay me so quickly. It was like, well, if you insist. But I think it's like all these things, there's got to be a certain relevance. And I think I'm going back to all these conversations. This is part of a bigger story. Initially, I wrote this guy off. I didn't think anything was going to happen. And when I was asked about my pipeline, I said, yeah, let's drop that. I think but even though I thought the guy was just going through the motions with me, I always spoke to him respectfully. I asked his questions. I asked him relevant questions. So when somebody said, what about X? He said, Yoram can help us with that. Yoram, yeah, he's got it. He looked good. I look good. My target, which was already smashed, blew up to smithereens by that point. It was a great way to end the year.
Lads, love the conversation. I think it's incredible. And I wish we had more time. Conclusion for what we've been speaking about. I have to do something with connecting with my son and take him off to athletics now. So look, incredible conversation with, unfortunately, Patrick couldn't speak, but he always comes up with some great, wonderful things. You're always a pleasure. And John had to leave as well. And Shay, as always, it's been incredible. Really good conversation.
Very enjoyable, right? Great for thanks for your contribution, Yoram. As always, Jason, always a pleasure to co-host these events with you. Final word for me is keep conversations open, keep talking, feedback. What can we do better? How can we move forward?
Yeah, I completely concur with that.
Have a great evening. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks, Ambreen, and thanks for tuning in.